how to make over £2 million a year with only having 4 part-time employees. Many of you will be out there wanting to scale up big businesses and think bigger is better, grow, but the reality is you could be growing yourself broke. I've been there, I've done that. I had a national company with a head office in Nottingham, 7 offices around the UK, over 40 team members at one point, and that was exactly what I wanted for my ego, for the fun, for the journey, and I absolutely loved it. But the reality is, once that's out your system, once you've scratched the itch, there are far more lucrative ways as a new age property entrepreneur to be out there making money in 2023. In this podcast, I'm going to take you through how I have built a small portfolio of companies. I'm going to select 3 of my companies to show you, and how with only 4 part-time employees, they generate over £2 million every year and have done for the last 3 years in profit from just 4 part-time employees. You don't have to have a huge business. You don't have to have a huge team. You can go out there and be highly lucrative, highly leveraged, and make £2 million profit a year from only 4 part-time team members. So in this podcast, I'm going to take you through 3 of the businesses that I own. So I've got lots of other companies that I invest in, that I own. But what we're going to look at here is an example of how you can cover all bases. So you know the 3 levels that we need to cover: cash flow, profit, and asset. How you can cover all 3 bases with 3 different companies that generate over £2 million a year with only 4 part-time employees. So to give you an idea of the concept of this, a good friend of mine, a property entrepreneur board member who's been on the board for over 7 years, I recorded a podcast with him recently on 6 rounds, and he is the ultimate FD. Josh Keegan, I was having a conversation with recently, is releasing a new book later this year called Small Business, Big Profits. And it just inspired me to do this podcast for you, to really get you into that mindset that if your number one objective is to make money, you don't need to have a huge team. I had a huge team. I had a national company. I had directors, heads of departments, department managers, team members, assistants, head office, local offices. I get it. It was fun, it was exciting, it was to scratch my ego, but it wasn't the most lucrative thing that I've ever done. You can, however, have a small business with a huge profit when you understand the strategy, the blueprint, and to be highly leveraged and highly lucrative. So if we go to the 3 levels, inspired by Josh's new book that's coming out called Big Business, Small Profits. No, the other way around. That's probably actually true. Big businesses probably do have small profits, and they definitely have small margins because they've got managers and HR departments and insurance policies. But inspired by Josh's business, we don't want to have big business with small profits. We want to have small business with big profits. And we're going to cover all 3 levels: cash flow, profit, asset. If I take my training company, which is a reasonable sized training company, 150 to 200 clients, people come from all around the world, people fly in every month to attend the workshop. It's been going for 10 years. Cash flow business, reasonable size, multi-million pound business. Profit, which is deal packaging, which I've talked about previously, which is all about the value slab. So if I can make you 10 million, will you pay me 2 million? If I can make you 1 million, will you pay me 100 or 200? And then developments, going out there doing build to rent developments, class MA, PD. If you're not already bought the online training that we did, www.dealsdealsdeals.co.uk, £500, learn how to make £500,000 in less than 12 months. Everything you need is in there. That's the asset strategy. And that's how I've done over £10 million worth of developments, made multi-million pounds in profit and equity. And that's the asset business we're going to look at. So cash flow, training business, profit, deal brokering, packaging deals for people, selling companies for people, and then assets, my development company, build to rent, high density, class MA to class C3 residential developments. And using that, just those 3 companies, I probably still own or invest in maybe 20, 25 companies, but just using those 3 companies, how I can do £2 million in profit each year and have done for the last 3 years with 4 part-time employees. So if we look at sort of how the business works, so the team that I've got, so if we start off with the training business, so training business basically has a head of the training business. So the head of training business is basically operationally runs the company day to day. She's there running the team. She's there liaising with the clients. She's there dealing with all the third parties. Her responsibility is pretty much on a day-to-day basis to run the business. She then has a team around her of employees. So she's an employee. We then have, and the office is open 9 till 3, I think it is, 9:30 till 3. So it's a part-time head office business. All the team members work around those hours loosely. And she's supported by an events and community coordinator and a finance assistant. And those three run that business, probably £2 million revenue business, highly, highly lucrative, very noisy events company. Those of you that run it needs lots of stuff. There's only three of them that are employed that actually run it. So they run the training company. And then the profit, which is basically packaging deals, selling companies for people, is literally me. And that's it. No employees, no part-time employees. And I have an EA who works with me, a self-employed EA who works with me. I have a finance team that work with me. I have an accountancy team that do due diligence, reporting, appraisals for me. But they're all subcontractors, self-employed, third parties. So in profit, there's nobody apart from me. And that business can comfortably do multiple six figures a year with 0 employees. And then at the top, the development company, over £10 million development to date, made consistent 7-figure profits for the last few years in development, but only one part-time team member. And she's basically the head of the development company. She runs the company, runs the developments, runs the sourcing side of things, talks to all of our third parties. But that's it. She's the only employed person. And across those 4 people, they generate over £2 million in profit every year. Across those 3 businesses, they generate over millions of pounds in revenue, over £2 million in profit. But I don't have to have a big team. I don't have to go out there and worry about the complexities that come with running a bigger business that would naturally have smaller margins. So how can you go and repeat the same? Well, the first thing is to understand about business is, this is a mantra that we teach on Property Entrepreneur, is that the business you build will define the life that you lead. So if you want to have a big office with desks everywhere, loads of people, great for photos, see on Instagram, fantastic YouTube videos, follow me and my 100 employees, you can do that. That's cool. But you are going to have anxieties about paying cash flow. You are going to have to make sure enough business is coming in every month. You are going to get to a point where you used to make 100 grand a month profit and be like, wow, this is amazing. Now you're like, we have to make 200 grand revenue, otherwise we can't pay people's salaries. And you have big insurance policies, you have HR issues, you have service failure, you have growing pains. Of course you do. It comes with the territory, but that's the life you've chose. The business you build defines the life that you lead. Once you've done that, got it out of your system, realise it's not the most lucrative way to make money, unless you want to go into the billions or hundreds of millions. You have to do that in most cases. You can go small and lucrative, and you can just find real high performers that run the businesses. It fits perfectly with their expertise. If you're not listening to the Perfect Profile, go back and listen to that. Fits with what they're doing, fits with what they want, gives the business what they need. It's a win-win-win. It's a win for you as the owner. It's a win for them running the companies. It's a win for the company financially and profitably and the clients. And it's a win-win-win. If you want to go out there, these smaller opportunities are definitely one there. So, and it's not that stressful. You can have 10 years worth of overheads in the bank because you've only got 4 part-time employees. It can be very balanced. It can be very considered. It can be very low stress. It can be very enjoyable and very lucrative. So the business, will define the life you lead. The industry and sector is really important, because if you need to run a business that is a 10 or 20, like an aviation, 1% margin, or letting agents, 10% margin and a salary if you're lucky. Thousands of tenants, hundreds of landlords. You've got to choose the right industry and sector. Also within that, you've got to find the high margins. So you really do need to find all of these 3 businesses, all of them are niche. So selling companies for people on a 0 upfront fee, 0 risk, no sale, no fee basis, where you can genuinely make 100, 200, 500,000 pound a deal. It's very niche. It's very crest of a wave. If you need to know what you're doing, that's one. Property Entrepreneur. how many hundreds or thousands of training programs are in the UK where they'll teach you how to refurb a property or do rent to rent or do HMOs? How many market leading business in property training programs that have been going for 10 years and rated world class for the last 5, oversubscribed every year since 2013? How many are there of those? It's niche, it's crest of a wave, it's premium price point, it's high margin. Or development, high density build to rent, B1, C3, MA, PD, E-class to C3 permitted development. It's very niche, very crest of the wave. You've got to find that right space where you can build 7 and 8 figure businesses that deliver 6 and 7 figure profits with a team of 4, 5, 10 people. Definitely less than a dozen. If you can get closer to 5, then you really are winning. So how does that work in practice? Well, can you go out there and do multi-million pounds worth of revenue and £2 million a year in profit and equity with only 4 people? Absolutely not. Of course you can't. If you're going to build a block of 80 apartments, you couldn't even get started with 4 people. You need more people. Well, how do you do that? Well, what you do is you focus on the people you bring in. So you look at business models that could be highly leveraged, very profitable, highly leveraged, other people can run them, highly lucrative, very profitable, and then we bring a team in to run them. So if I look at the employed team in our team, the whole headline of this was how to make £2 million a year with only 4 part-time employees. That's a very small team, so you need to have high performers in every seat. So 4 high performers who know what they're doing, they're experienced, they're expert, you pay them very well, and they run the show. They're focused, they're dedicated, they don't work for anybody else, they're locked in, they're employed, they're there to do a job. They don't work evenings, they don't work weekends, they don't work ridiculous hours. They work set hours that fit with their lifestyle, their family, their professional aspirations, and it works for them. It works for the clients and it works for us as entrepreneurs. Once you've got them in, you then bring in the next realm of people, which are self-employed people. Now, the good thing about self-employed people is their variable costs. So if you've got 50 employees, which many of you probably will have, the reality of ending up with £1 million, £2 million payroll is very possible when you move into 50, 100 employees. It gets expensive. I don't know, do the maths on that. 50 people at 10 grand a year would be, 10 grand. Yeah, it depends. Obviously, it depends how much you're paying them, how much you're paying them, what positions they're employed in, etc. But it's significantly expensive. It's a fixed cost. It will keep you up at night. Whereas if you can have people on a variable cost, it means if there's no work, you don't pay them. And this is the new age property entrepreneur. It's VAs, it's PAs, it's EAs, it's self-employed people, it's pay as you go, it's zero rate contracts. And this is where we have a whole team of people around us that I talk to and see every day that are basically part of the team, but they're not employed. And what does it mean if they're not employed? If they're not busy, they're not getting paid. If we're not busy, we don't have any work to give them, we don't have to pay them. They're self-employed, so they're more driven. We're their client, not their employer. We don't have to worry about a lot of the HR issues that come with an employment environment. Benefits of both, don't get me wrong. But the people that we'd have for that is like my driver who's outside. He drives for me. He's like my right-hand man. He is completely self-employed. If I don't use him, I don't pay him. My EA, my executive assistant, basically runs my other companies for me, but she is self-employed. She wants to take a holiday. She takes it whenever she wants. I want to give her 50 hours work. She probably wouldn't thank me, but she'll probably get it done. And I pay her for 50 hours work. I give her 5 hours work. I pay her for 5 hours work. Speakers who speak on our programs, designers who we use for the podcast, our websites, our artwork, the printing companies, bookkeepers, cleaners, the head of our finance department, the head of our operations department, our HR department. They're all self-employed people. They're on contracts, charge us whatever the hourly rate is agreed. I've never met our HR department, but they're there. They do their thing behind the scenes. This is the whole thing about being a new age property entrepreneur. And then third parties. You can't run a multi-million pound set of 3 companies without having third parties. So third parties would be people like the Belfry, who we've been going to for 10 years, 9 years this year, 10 years. We've been going to the Belfry, spend hundreds of thousands of pounds a year. We put on the most amazing events where hundreds of people come and eat 3-course ribeye steak meals and fine dining and 3-course lunches. You can't do that with full-time employees. You have to have third parties. So we have an events company that run that for us. All the AV, the tech, it's all distributed out to third parties. In the construction company, we use a main contractor. We use a QS. We use an architect. They're all self-employed. They're on fixed price contracts. They're variable costs. We don't have to worry about them. Like the big message here is like bigger doesn't have to be better, and you don't have to control everything. You don't have to own everything. There's margins worth chasing, and there's margins worth missing. I've looked before, of course I have. I've got seduced. So let's not go to the Belfry. I'll buy a £3 million grade 2 listed building where there can be weddings and there can be events, and I'll own it. Like, it's good for my ego. You know, it's why not? But the reality is it going to make me more money? No. Is it going to create more headaches? Yes. Do I want more headaches? No. Do I want more problems? No. Do I want more employees? At the moment, probably not. Quite happy with a small team, highly lucrative, highly leveraged, and that's how you do it. So think about the sector you're in. Now, the business you build defines the life you lead. Bigger is not better. More revenue does not mean more profit. If you look at the linear line, you know, as soon as you go into lines of management, then lines of directors, then insurance costs and office costs and a phone system costs, all of this stuff starts to add up. If you want to do it for fun, go and smash it out of the park. Enjoy yourself, fill your booze. I did it. But then I sold out when I didn't want to do it anymore. Nowadays, you can genuinely go and make £1 million a year from working with a small team, a couple of £1 million a year from a small team, you know, 3, 4, 5 people who work closely, world-class performers, smash it out of the park, build something that's world-class, and go out there and make your millions without having headaches and HR issues. Bigger does not have to be better. And that is, as Josh Keegan says, big profits from small businesses, small business, big profits. And that is the future of being a new age property entrepreneur. Have a think about it, play with it, let it settle. But I will be very surprised if at some time very soon that isn't the way you go. So I wish you the best of luck. Success and failure in that capacity are very predictable. And I look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.